Ben arrived at the cabin on a rainy Thursday evening. The sky was bruised purple, and the clouds hung low like wet wool. He had driven for hours, winding through remote forest roads until the signal on his phone disappeared. That was the point, no distractions, no calls, no memories of the city. The cabin had belonged to his uncle, though Ben barely remembered him. All he knew was the man vanished years ago, and the deed ended up with Ben's mother, who passed it to him with a warning: the place is old. It creaks. Don't let the woods get into your head. The wood smelled like damp bark and ash. The inside was sparse but tidy: a fireplace, a threadbare rug, a rusting kettle. Dust danced in the thin light seeping through yellowed curtains. Ben dropped his bag and stood still for a moment. No traffic. No sirens. Just the hush of the forest pressing against the cabin like a held breath. He thought that maybe this silence would fix something in him. But the forest does not forgive. It remembers. That first night, Ben heard a scratching in the walls. The scratching started faintly. Ben assumed it was mice. He tried to ignore it, curling under the old wool blanket on the cot, staring at the rafters. But it grew louder, as if something were dragging nails against the wood, deliberate and slow. He pounded the wall once. The sound stopped. Satisfied, he turned over. Then came a whisper. Not from outside. From inside the room. Ben. He sat up, heart pounding. His phone was on the nightstand. No service. No signal. He turned on the flashlight. Nothing. No one. Just the hush of old wood and cold air. He didn't sleep much that night. In the morning, he searched for evidence: mice, rats, something. Found nothing. He left for a hike to clear his head, but the forest paths felt unfamiliar, though he'd walked them before. When he returned to the cabin, the scratching was waiting for him. And this time, it didn't stop when he knocked. The next evening, Ben ventured deeper into the forest. He hoped a long hike would tire him enough to sleep. The canopy above swallowed the sky, casting everything in a dull, green twilight. A mile in, he stopped. He heard humming. A child's tune. High-pitched. Off-key. Echoing from deeper in the woods. "Hello." Ben called. The humming stopped. Silence. Then, a giggle. Quick, sharp, close. He spun, but saw nothing. Branches rustled above. He glimpsed something move, too fast, too thin. It vanished between the trees. He ran back. But the trail had changed. The trees weren't the same. There were no familiar landmarks. It took him hours to find the cabin again. When he did, the front door was open. Inside, the furniture had been rearranged. The old rocking chair now faced the window. And on it, a doll he didn't own. Sewn from burlap. Button eyes. Red yarn hair. In its lap, a note scrawled in ash. "We remember. Do you?" Ben burned the doll. He took it out behind the cabin, lit a match, and watched it curl into blackened threads. The smoke rose straight into the sky despite the wind. He went back inside and locked every door, every window. That night, the whispering returned, closer now. Just outside his door. It no longer sounded like mice. It sounded like voices. Too many to count. "You forgot. You forgot." They repeated it like a chant. Ben gripped the fireplace poker in his hand, sweat pouring down his neck. He opened the door in a flash, swinging the metal rod wildly. Nothing. But the hallway was cold. Freezing. And along the walls, someone had dragged a finger through the dust to write. "The hollow ones live here." Ben awoke with a jolt, though he hadn't realized he'd fallen asleep. A pale gray light seeped through the window, dawn, or close to it. The whispering had stopped. The house was silent. Too silent. He moved the dresser aside, cautiously opened the bedroom door, and stepped into the hallway. The main room was untouched. But he still couldn't find his keys. Or his phone. Ben opened every drawer, every cabinet. Nothing. It was like the cabin had swallowed them. Then, in the corner of the kitchen behind a loose panel, he found it, a square hole in the wall, leading into a dark crawlspace. Barely wide enough to fit through. A rancid smell drifted from within, mold and rot and something else. Older. But something in him whispered, "Look." He fetched his flashlight from his bag. The beam flickered as he aimed it inside. Dust swirled. Cobwebs hung like curtains. He swallowed hard and crawled in. The passage stretched deeper than he expected. The further he went, the colder it became. His breath fogged in the light. Then, in the beam, something glinted. Metal. His keys. He reached for them, then froze. Just beyond the keys, a face. Eyes open. Hollow. Mouth stretched unnaturally wide. A figure crouched motionless in the dark, half buried in the dirt. Its skin was gray and dry, like paper stretched too thin. It smiled. Ben scrambled backward, kicking up dirt, bumping his head against the crawlspace ceiling. He didn't stop until he was out. The keys fell from his shaking hand. From behind the panel, the singing started again, closer now. La. 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 Ben backed away, eyes wide. The panel slid shut. On its own. Ben didn't sleep. He sat with his back against the bedroom wall, staring at the closed crawlspace panel, the poker once again clenched in both hands. The whispering didn't return. The singing stopped. But the silence felt worse. It felt like breath being held. Around noon, light spilled through the cabin windows. Ben mustered the courage to step outside. He needed to clear his head, to feel something familiar. The forest greeted him like a stranger. Everything was too quiet. No birds, no insects, not even the wind. The stream, once rushing, now trickled slowly as if suffocating. Ben wandered farther than he had before, following a narrow deer path. After half an hour, he saw something odd up ahead, a wooden sign, half-rotted, with faded black paint. Wilkins Hollow, DST 1892. He frowned. He hadn't seen any signs on the drive-in. Curious, he followed the trail beyond the sign. It led to a field overgrown with weeds and briars, where crooked wooden crosses jutted from the ground. A cemetery. Dozens of them, names long erased by time and weather. But one cross near the center was fresh. New wood. New nails. And carved into it. Benjamin Rourke, 2006. His heart stopped. He stepped back, stumbling. That was his name. And the year, it was when he was 11. The year he'd visited this cabin with his parents. He hadn't thought about it in years. They'd left early. He'd blocked most of it out. Something had happened here. Suddenly, the forest felt thicker. Wrong. A whisper echoed from the trees, soft and familiar. We never let you go. Ben turned and ran. The shadows chased him all the way back to the cabin. And inside, on the rug, footprints. Leading to the crawlspace, Ben followed the footprints. He didn't want to, but his body moved on its own, as if compelled. The crawlspace panel was ajar. He crouched before it, the stench stronger now. Behind him, the forest watched through the windows. He turned on his flashlight again, its beam flickering weakly. The crawlspace seemed darker. Wider. The walls stretched into impossible angles. He crawled in. This time, it went deeper. He passed walls covered in symbols, charcoal markings, handprints, names scratched over and over again. His name. Ben. 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 The floor was no longer dirt. It felt soft. Breathing. Something moved beside him in the dark. He swung the light. Nothing. A whisper behind him. Almost home. He turned. A door stood at the end of the passage. Wooden. Old. But pulsing with something alive. Ben reached for the handle. He didn't remember opening it. The room beyond the door was circular and vast, carved into the earth. The walls pulsed with veins. In the center stood a stone altar. And on it, a shape. It rose as Ben entered. Tall. Thin. Limbs too long. Its face was smooth, no eyes, no mouth, just skin stretched where features should be. But he felt it looking at him. Behind him, the door vanished. It stepped forward. Its movements too fluid, like liquid wrapped in bone. Ben backed away. "Why me?" he asked. It tilted its head. Then it spoke, not with a mouth, but in his mind. "You were the first to forget." Ben gripped the flashlight like a weapon. It flickered out. Darkness. Silence. Then a scream, not his own, but a child's. Dozens of them. And in the dark, hands. Hands dragging him down. Into the dirt, Ben wandered the twisted forest for what felt like hours. The sky had turned the color of rust. Time moved differently here. He came upon a clearing filled with dozens of children. But they didn't move. They stood in a circle, eyes closed, mouths open in silent screams. Ben called out. No answer. He stepped forward. Their eyes snapped open. All at once. And they spoke as one. "You promised you'd stay." He screamed, stumbling backward. The trees closed in behind him. He turned, and the cabin was there. Not behind him, in front. But older. Decrepit. Rotting. As if it had sat abandoned for 100 years. He stepped inside. The walls pulsed like veins. And on the mirror in the bathroom, written in his own handwriting. "The hollow ones are you." So did it, but slower. Delayed. Then it smiled. He turned to run, but the cabin was gone. Just trees. Trees for miles. And behind him, the sound of dozens of feet dragging through dead leaves. The hollow ones had come to collect. He ran until his legs gave out. Then, from the trees, his mother's voice. "Come home, Benny. You forgot who you were." He wept. When he opened his eyes, he was back in the cabin. In the chair. Rocking. The fire was out. Dust covered everything. He didn't remember how he got there. Or how long he'd been gone. Only that the forest was watching. And it would never let him leave again. The mirror cracked. His reflection smiled. And blinked.